And now, we are going to take a close look at the key strengths of Kamala Harris. Legal expertise. Kamala Harris' extensive legal background includes serving as a prosecutor and as the Attorney General of California. Her legal career has equipped her with a deep understanding of the law and the justice system, enabling her to navigate complex legal and policy issues effectively.
We are very proud to announce a tremendous victory for California. As a result of 13 months of intense discussions, sometimes battle, we have delivered to California $18 billion in relief for California's homeowners. This represents one of the largest dollar amounts to come to California. Certainly many of you know the tobacco settlement many years ago brought $25 billion, but that was over the course of 25 years. This represents $18 billion coming to California homeowners over the course of the next 3 years.
Advocacy for justice reform. Harris has been a prominent advocate for criminal justice reform, focusing on reducing recidivism, addressing racial disparities, and implementing more equitable justice policies. Her efforts aim to create a fairer and more just legal system for all.
Senator Cory Booker, the Congressional Black Caucus, and I announced the Justice in Policing Act, which would do a number of things, but require accountability for police officers who break the rules and break the law. And in particular, it's going to require pattern and practice investigations, patterns and practice of discrimination in law enforcement agencies. It's going to require that we have a national standard for the use of force. It's going to require independent investigations, all in the name of making sure that justice is real in America.
Public speaking. Known for her compelling and articulate public speaking skills, Harris has the ability to effectively communicate her ideas and connect with diverse audiences. Her speeches are often impactful and resonate with many people across different communities. Harris' sharp debating skills have been showcased in various settings, including Senate hearings and the 2020 Vice Presidential debate. She demonstrates a strong ability to handle tough questions and counter-arguments, often leaving a lasting impression with her responses.
What is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country? You respect the American people when you tell them the truth. You respect the American people when you have the courage to be a leader speaking of those things that you may not want people to hear, but they need to hear so they can protect themselves. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight. I will not sit here and be lectured by the Vice President on what it means to enforce the laws of our country. I am the only one on this stage who has personally prosecuted everything from child sexual assault to homicide. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you.
Diversity and representation. As the first female, African-American, and Asian-American Vice President, Harris represents a significant progress in diversity and inclusion in U.S. politics. Her historic election has inspired many and highlights the importance of representation in leadership positions.
I saw my mother and how she worked hard, and she was full of pride and would never want anyone to ever pity her. She never complained about anything. But I also knew how she suffered. I knew how she stayed up late at night trying to figure things out. She was a brown woman with an accent. I remember going into, a store and us being followed. I remember how people would look at my mother and make certain assumptions about her intelligence or her capacity or her right to belong. As the eldest child, you see this. My mother was very well aware that she was raising 2 black girls to be 2 black women.
Legislative experience. Serving as a U.S. Senator, Harris has gained valuable experience in legislative processes. She has been involved in crafting and supporting significant legislative efforts, contributing to the development and passage of important laws.
On March 23, 2010, the Affordable Care Act was signed into law. The ACA has delivered high-quality, affordable health care to more than 30 million Americans, millions of people who had never been able to afford coverage before, or who had been denied coverage altogether, often because of a category of denial called pre-existing conditions. The ACA is the most consequential health care legislation passed in generations in our country.
Advocacy for women's rights. Harris has been a staunch advocate for women's rights, fighting for issues such as reproductive rights, equal pay, and addressing gender-based violence. Her efforts aim to ensure that women have equal opportunities and protections under the law.
Rights in America are under attack. Together, we will invest $50 million to protect low-lying neighborhoods from sea level rise and storm surge. All of these projects will create good jobs and good union jobs in our communities. And these projects will also strengthen our economy by preventing billions of dollars of damage from extreme weather. This $1 billion investment is double what our administration did last year, and as President Biden recently announced, next year we will be doubling that investment once again to more than $2 billion.
Healthcare advocacy. Harris has been a supporter of expanding access to healthcare, backing policies like Medicare for All. Her efforts aim to ensure that all Americans have access to affordable and comprehensive healthcare services.
Healthcare, and whether they have access to healthcare that they can afford. And the idea that people are playing politics yet again with the Affordable Care Act is the height of irresponsibility. Pre-existing conditions. Tens of millions of Americans have benefited from the Affordable Care Act, including the removal of pre-existing conditions as a barrier to receive care. And the idea that we would turn the clock back because of some political purpose instead of prioritizing public health is irresponsible. And so we're going to have to fight against it again. But, you know, we have been clear, I think, as a nation that we value and we want all Americans to be able to have access to affordable health care.
Resiliency and tenacity. Throughout her career, Harris has demonstrated resilience and determination, overcoming various challenges and criticisms. Her tenacity has been a driving force in her political career, helping her achieve her goals and advance her position in public service.
The one thing Kamala Harris has always been: fearless. As a prosecutor, she put murderers and abusers behind bars. As California's Attorney General, she went after the big banks and won $20 billion for homeowners. And as Vice President, she took on the big drug companies to cap the cost of insulin for seniors. Because Kamala Harris has always known who she represents.
This campaign is about who we fight for. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. Where every senior can retire with dignity.
Hey, do you agree with this list? Do you think this misses out on some key points? Can you please put your comments and suggestions in the comment section? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.